that also means that anything we're talking about right now will actually be in the show if you don't watch it live. So anyone who's not watching live just heard all that stuff. Okay, here we go. Warren, it gets loud right now.
Get those nerds!
All right, guys, good morning. If you haven't woken up already, there it is. There's your wake-up call. We scream at you with Bid Nerds. Get those nerds. My name is John Polnik. I'm the host of Bid Nerds, along with my partner, Michael Deeb, over there on the other side of the screen. We are your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. We're a couple of morons that don't know anything about cars, but we make predictions to what we think they will sell for every day on the show, 9 o'clock or 9 o'clock ish, depends on when we roll out of bed. Or, you know, I'm in Vegas, so I haven't even been to bed. I've just been up all night because that's what we do in Las Vegas. Michael Deeb, how are you this morning?
That's what happens when you live on the strip.
It is. It's totally true. They won't let you go to. If you try to go to bed early, like, you know, let's say you try to go to bed at like midnight or something like that, you just feel like an a-hole because you hear everyone partying and hooting and hollering the music, and you're just like, oh man, I'm a chump if I'm going to bed now. I'm missing out. FOMO for life. Hey, we have an expert today. It's been a big week. I know, right? We're just bringing in people to show us up. Clearly, we don't know what we're doing, and we make it worse by bringing people in that do. From Rad For Sale, one of the founders of Radwood, and one of the hosts of probably the best automotive podcast out there, DWA, that's Driving While Awesome. We've got Warren Madsen. There he is. Hello,
what's up, Warren?
What's up? I'm gonna have to give you $20 for that plug for DWA.
I take Bitcoin. I'll do it. I want it in crypto. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I was just telling somebody yesterday that I'm the least prepared and the most prepared for this show ever. I have no idea. I have no idea what we're gonna do, but I've been preparing my whole life for it. So.
Oh my God! Yeah, you might be one of the founders of the show.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. I'm stoked, and it's great to see you both. And Michael, where are you located? You're not in Vegas.
I'm right here in San Francisco, man.
Oh,
I'm just up the highway from you.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, I'm born and raised.
Very cool. What neighborhood?
I am right in the middle of the city, close to Twin Peaks. I'm on Roosevelt. Yeah.
Nice.
Corona Heights is the technical latest marketing term for the neighborhood I live in.
Of course. Yeah, those change all the time.
I'm in between the Castro and the Haight district. So sometimes, because we're above the Castro, which is the gay area, it's been referred to as the Swiss Alps.
I love that. My wife lived in Ashbury Heights for years, and so I know that area super well. But yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
It's usually sunny, which is kind of nice. I grew up in the Sunset, which is always foggy, like Santa Cruz. You know, there's a marine layer, but here I'm on the other side of the hill, so it's sunny most of the time.
Beautiful. Well, yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm stoked. Let's nerd out.
Let's nerd out. Hey, before we get to the cars, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on the DWA podcast. That is the most current DWA podcast available for DWA. Is that correct? If we go to DWA and look it up?
Yep.
Yeah. So that would have launched yesterday, Thursday, and thank you for coming on. It's always nice to have a guest that we don't have to encourage to speak. And
my wife delivered a second cup of coffee. We have an espresso machine, and boy, I tell you what, I got on. By the time we rolled out of our Bid Nerds episode, I had just enough time to mainline another cup of espresso, and I got on your show, and I was like, "Hey guys, what's going on? How you doing?"
Oh my God!
It was just a shotgun. It was terrible.
So I listened to half the show yesterday, and I was laughing out loud, especially when you guys started talking about Bid Nerds, and Lane was poking fun at me, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
But I paused it for to take a break, And I was telling Esther, my wife, a little bit about it, and I said, "JP's doing all the talking. I love it. It's
No, it's great.
These guys are just sitting back and watching it, like you can hear it. JP's just like monologuing. It was hilarious.
Yeah, no insult intended. It's way better that way. We talk all the time, as you guys know, so it's nice to have somebody who knows what they're talking about and can bring something to the show. So anyways, thank you for coming on. You're welcome anytime. Michael, same thing to you. If you ever feel like even recording in person sometime, holler.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I'd love to come down.
Yeah, but we always love having good guests, and we've known JP for a while now, and it's not our first rodeo on the podcast together.
That is true. They've got a great studio down there in your neck of the woods, Deeb, too. The old Wrigley building, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. So when you guys get that back up and running, let's set it up for video, man. Let's come down there and then.
Absolutely, yeah. We're close. We're super close. I mean, it's pretty much happening now. It's just a matter of logistics. So yeah, I would love that.
And talk a little bit about, you guys got a big event coming up in July. Is that thing already sold out?
Yeah. So which event?
Well, driving while awesome in the mountains.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So we have two things. So we have the DWA Sierra Rally Rewind.
Right.
So we did a Sierra Rally a couple years ago, and we're kind of retracing that backwards, but rad, like Southern Sierras, 3 days of driving, about 100 people. It's like a rolling cars and coffee. It's the best summer camp.
When you say like Southern Sierras, is that like Three Rivers area, like that kind of area?
Exactly. Yeah. You know Three Rivers?
I have. Yeah, I've climbed up Mineral King and Sawtooth Pass. I've been up there. Yeah.
Nice. Black Cahuilla and all that. That's
beautiful up there. It's really, really nice. It's
for those of you guys who don't know the areas that they're talking about. Just know that the DWA guys, they drive and they know the roads. And
that's for sure.
Man, you guys find the secret squirrel spots that are like,
it's out there. For sure.
That's.
We push the limits a little bit. Like, a lot of these rallies are very just, roads that Waze would tell you to take or something, but we're trying to get lost a little bit. And nice. Who's that?
That's Patootie. That's our producer.
That's our producer. Yeah.
He's a beauty. Yeah. So that's 3 days. 3 days in the mountains with good friends and a bunch of cool cars. And then July 10th, we're doing a Radwood in San Mateo. So that's Radwood NorCal.
Is that spot disclosed yet or not?
Yeah. I mean, it's officially unofficial, but it's the San Mateo Event Center, which is the old Bay Meadows horse race track.
Cousin Mark, my cousin Mark grew up in Foster City, and he watches the show religiously. Bangs on about JP all the time, and when Lane was on and announced that it was going to be at a big event down there, he guessed correctly that that's where it had to be. So cousin Mark got that one right. Having never been to a Radwood, he knows the area well enough that he knew where you guys were alluding to.
That's good knowledge.
So
we're stoked on it's really cool. We did a walkthrough last week, and it's like a kind of like a college campus sort of quad vibe. So it's going to be really spread out and. It's going to be easy to get to, plenty of parking for spectators, and it's a really good central location. So anyways, that's our first kind of launch back into the Radwood world after the pandemic, and it feels like it's been a while, but we're going to jump head first and have a big event. And then
it's a huge July for you guys.
Yeah, it's actually back-to-back weekends too, so it's like we'll do Radwood and then get ready and roll out for the rally, and then it kind of just steamrolls from there. So yeah, it's good. It's good to be busy, right?
Yeah,
I like the idea of a campus theme. Then you could go with all the 80s and 90s college campus movies. We could do Toga Party.
Totally,
man. I'm totally okay. So now we have a costume plan for our Radwood weekend. All right. Well, speaking of making guesses, what we do on this show, if you've never joined us before and you're only here for the Driving While Awesome guy, what we do here is we pick a bunch of, we sort out, we go through all the cars that are on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, Hemmings, Rad For Sale. We find the most interesting ones and we bring them to you and we talk about them right here on the show. And then the rubber hits the road when we make predictions as to what we think these cars will actually sell for when the hammer hits the auction block at or the sound block at the end of their auctions. We always start every show by going over our predictions from the day before, just to prove to you we really don't know what we're talking about. So let's go ahead and do that. Michael, Uncle Deeb, what were our cars of the day yesterday?
Ooh, good question. What was our car of the day
Well,
yesterday?
we started with a car that was kind of near to you. You know, being a restaurant owner in San Francisco, we had to do this green Bullet. Yeah.
Yeah. So Warren, my sister and I own a little Italian restaurant up on Nob Hill since 1989, and
dude,
it's on the corner of Taylor and Clay, and also on the corner of Taylor and Clay was Steve McQueen's apartment in the movie Bullet, and the Bullet Mustang was parked out in front of the corner store right next door to us, and he spends many scenes in that movie. And then they also filmed at Gramercy Tower and the Taylor Street Hill as part of the chase scene with the Dodge Charger.
Dude, that's awesome.
Those are all on our block. So our Taylor Street is a big part. It's in multiple different scenes in the Bullet movie. So when the 01 Bullet Mustang came out, and then I've always been a big fan of all the Bullet Mustangs that have followed, including the car we covered yesterday, which was a 2008 Mustang Bullet that had just 2,900 original miles. This car was in really nice condition. Ford likes to claim that it's a limited edition, but JP and I were laughing at the fact that they built 4,370 of these things in 2008, and then they call it a limited edition. I mean, imagine that's more than all the GT3 and all the GT3 RSs from any different vintage you can pick. I mean, that is a crazy number. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And, 95% of them are this dark Highland green. But what you get is a little better suspension, the torque thrust looking wheels, a cue ball shifter, and a little more horsepower. The color always looks good, and the fastback worked. So JP and I thought this car might have a big finish. So I said 26. JP said $27,000 and took the over. Our car came close. I don't think we were really off. The car brought $24,500 and sold on Bring a Trailer. So that's a pretty big result for a 08 Mustang with 3,000 miles. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I would. Although 3,000 miles is incredibly low. It's not like Ferrari, Porsche collector world. So I feel like those cars get driven a little more. But that doesn't seem out of a crazy price.
Pretty fair deal all around. I won that one.
That's why I bet the over on that one. Honestly, it was miles, not the car.
And bids. Yeah. Doug DeMiro had. Yeah. And again, I think we're pretty close. Doug DeMiro found a BMW X5 4.8 IS. If you remember, the IS was sort of the hottest version of that early generation of the X5. Big V8, big wheels, a little bit of body cladding that made these cars a little cooler. Certainly a little more power than the 4.6s. But this car had 100,000 miles on it. And JP, you were pointing out like there are a lot of wear and tear on this just over 100,000 mile example. I mean, it really looked like 150 to 200,000 mile example upon closer inspection. Again, we were really close. I said $9,500. JP, you took the under at 9, and you almost got a Yahtzee. This car sold for $8,969. If my math doesn't fail me, you were $31 off a Yahtzee yesterday on the
Nice work.
Warren, you ever driven one of those?
Yeah, many of them. In a former life, I ran a repair shop that specialized in European cars. So we dealt
saw them too.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say about this particular example is that it's the last of that body style in that era. So
yeah.
It's tough to be the guy that takes the first year of a certain BMW. But if you're in that last of that generation, a lot of the problems have been kind of ferreted out. And so as a used car, it's not the worst buy. They're still super sketchy cars, don't get me wrong, like on a maintenance standpoint. And especially at that mileage, you're getting to start over on everything.
Yes.
But
CV boots, oxygen sensors,
all the rubber,
shit.
every seal, and then the electronics start to get weird and all that stuff. So that's the annoying part of it. And like you said, if it's not super well maintained, like if that doesn't have a binder of dealer receipts and always garage and all that stuff, those are just used cars, and that's kind of what it sounds like it's sold for.
Yeah, and that JP pointed a lot of that out yesterday. He was all over that car. So it seems like a fair value for what you're getting, but there you go.
Yep.
We went back to Bring a Trailer to look at a 996 turbo, and this car was spectacular. JP, do you remember how beautiful this car was? I think it had 16,000 original miles on a 6-speed manual 996 turbo with a full black leather interior. At that point, it almost doesn't matter what the exterior paint is, because that's the recipe, right? Low miles, Metzger engine, full black leather, and manual. I mean, this is going to become unobtainium here real soon. I think this result maybe surprised JP and I. We really thought this car might go over the moon. I said 82,000. JP was a little more conservative and took the under at 80. Our car sold for $71,500. And I would say, look, I know you could have got this car for 50 grand 5 years ago. But at 70 grand, it still seems like a screaming deal for what is arguably a brand new car. I don't know. I was really surprised it didn't go even past 75. Just get closer to JP's bid, even if it didn't go flying past 80 grand. So what do you think? Am I wrong in thinking that somebody really ripped that car yesterday for 70,000?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's tough because this bubble is still, going, and so like my mind went to $65,000, and the sales price seems totally fair, and you'll probably be able to put another 10,000 miles on it and get the same price.
Absolutely.
So and I'm not a big Porsche Kool-Aid drinker, so but this is one model that always appeals to me. Especially the higher mileage ones. They're just bang for the buck. I mean, you can't go wrong. So
my bid at $80,000 really wasn't. I mean, I'm pretty sure I said it yesterday. I was just trying to get closer. We play Prices Right rules, so it's over under. So I was trying to kind of narrow the spread a little bit, but I really did think it was going to be mid 70s, and if it got more than that, then it was one of those things where it's like, man, I guess these really are crazy. But the 997 turbos are in the 80s, and those have gone up too. But I just think a 997 turbo is just so much better. It's just a better car. So if you're going to spend the extra money, if you're going to spend $80,000 or $90,000, get the 997 turbo. I do agree with you, Warren, though, that the 996 represents a better value. And so if you can get the value for a 996 turbo should be, if it had normal miles, it would be somewhere in the 60s, maybe low 70s for a nice one, even if it had some miles on it. So that's where the value proposition comes in with a 996 turbo. You're getting all the car for a significantly less amount of money. If now all of a sudden we're saying they're the same as a 997 turbo, well, what's that?
Tough sell.
To get the 997.
Yeah. Right. But if it was a 997 with 16,000 miles, it would have been well over 100 grand.
Yeah, the mileage is what does it, right? So
I do agree with you. That's still a great deal. And I think the guy who buys this can enjoy it on the weekends. He's probably not going to use it as a daily, but he can enjoy it on the weekends. And this car is going to go up in value. In 4 years, 5 years from now, even if he puts 10,000 miles on it, I think he's going to get more than 70 grand for it.
And that's a super easy car to resell in that color combo.
For sure.
It's not going to alienate anyone, really.
Yeah, JP and I were both like, oof, that's a hot car.
Me.
Anyway.
I don't like blue.
You don't like the blue?
I'm not a blue. That is one of my least favorite colors in Porsche is that just regular, boring Honda person blue. No blue.
Now I'm going to get one just to piss him off.
How do you feel about silver then? I mean, silver
that's the thing. Silver, black, white. I actually am the guy that likes all the cars in the basic, boring colors. I don't like the silly.
Except blue.
But blue is a color. I mean, silver, black, white. Those are kind of like neutral tones, right?
Oh, you're saying that's like the absence
void of color. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Industrial.
It just makes it, silver, black, white. You're talking about those colors go with machines. To me, you start making things really bright colors, and now it's I don't know. Yeah, that's all. We could have a whole show talking about color stuff. But I'll be the first person to acknowledge that Porsche people love the crazy colors. I mean, look at this.
Dude, that's like a
thing over my shoulder.
Oh man, Porsche people in colors is They're just nuts. Like wacko.
Yeah, especially in the last 10 years, as Paul Kremer expertly pointed out the first time he was on the show. This wasn't a big deal 12 years ago, but it's been a big deal in the last decade.
I know.
All right, jumped over to P-Car Market for just a second to visit their 2005 Porsche 911 Carrera S Cab Manual. JP, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 34,000 miles on this car. Yeah. The seller, during the process of listing the car, came to the conclusion that the IMS bearing had not been done. Because they're a shop, they offered to do it at a discounted shop rate of a flat fee of $2,500 for an LN Engineering IMS bearing to the winner of the lot if they so desired to have them do it. And JP, you really liked and kind of loved that this guy stood up to that and offered to do it. And boy, that good vibe carried all the way through. I said 40 grand for this car because it needed the work. And you said 43, and you were, again, $500 off of Yahtzee because this car sold for $42,500. I take it back. This car was bid to $42,500. And then it remains in the deal tank. Again, just over you. You still would have won. $46,500 in the deal tank on P-Car Market. That car remains for sale. Sorry, I forgot my notes here.
Oh, boy,
interesting. Well, I was just going to say, my old shop a couple years ago, we did IMS bearings on a regular basis, and that's not a screaming deal for that job. So
yeah,
it's like the shop saying, we'll take your money to fix it.
Yeah.
And I'm not always super sketched out on 997s without an IMS. Early 996s for sure. But anyways, and it would also, there's a lot of while you're at it when you do that stuff. There's clutch and
it adds up quick.
It adds up quick, exactly. So I could see buyers going, I'll wait for one that has that done and is proven or something. But that's a really cool car. That's a fun
the
car.
thing for them to have done is just done it. I mean, just
exactly.
If you're a shop and you
that's
get a
point,
rate, just do it and just get it over with. That's silly. Maybe I misunderstood it yesterday. I thought they were just going to say that they were going to do it. But yeah, no, this is a great car. I think it's a convertible, and that always hurts them. And it's a P-Car Market. That's the double whammy for this car. Is it's such a weird platform, and the fact that people know that the car can go into the deal tank, they let them set kind of a high reserve that really, I mean, it's a convertible 997, and I love convertibles. Everybody knows I love convertibles, but I'll be the first to admit that they don't go for as much money. This is a boring color by Porsche people standards, so I don't see where you think that this car is going to bring everything. So that I think the seller should have sold it at that price, especially knowing that they're going to get another $2,500 in shop revenue after that.
Exactly.
Wow. All right. Last car that I handpicked for Lane Skelton, Mr. Radwood himself. I want to see him buy this 1991 Suzuki Samurai GL with a manual transmission and all-wheel drive. Warren, look at this thing. White on white with white wheels. I mean, is that not the epicenter of Radwood and the whole movement?
The graphics, the hard top.
It's just everything about this car. I absolutely picked that car in jest for our good friend Lane. I would love to see his take on this car. Anyway, I was really close on this one. I said 15 grand. It had low miles. JP, do you remember this thing had like 25,000 miles? There was a lot of surface corrosion underneath, but it wasn't rotten. It just looked like it was parked near the beach. This car spent most of its life in San Diego and is probably parked outside.
Yeah.
Anyway, JP took a conservative under on this car at $13,000. I wish we would have got Lane's bid on it. It sold for $15,250. I was 250 grand off of Yahtzee. By and large, JP, we had a pretty good day. You won 3 of them. I won 2. And there you go. Lane, that one's for you, baby. There you go.
Dude, that has to be a world record price for a Samurai. I mean,
right?
Who's paying more than 15 for a Samurai?
You should have heard JP like fall out of the chair. The car was at 10 grand. I said, I'm going to go 15 grand. I think Lane should buy it. And he laughed. He goes, "Are you serious for a Samurai?" And it brought 15,250. It wasn't really far off.
I do want to see Warren. I want to see Lane and Michael driving around in one of these with a car.
Absolutely, with orange mocha frappuccinos.
Well, you should probably get some training wheels for it because they'll probably tip over. So
that is why I want to see them both drive it at the same time. Yeah,
it could tip over in the parking lot with me and Lane in the front seat of that car.
Dude, I saw a Tepui tent on top of a Samurai, and I'm like, what happens when you open that tent? Like the whole thing just.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Over. Yeah, those are really rough to drive. They're super cool looking, and I think they have a great sense of occasion. But over 15 for one that's not like immaculate would be bananas. Amazing. Yeah, good on the seller.
There you go.
That is full nostalgia because honestly, I mean, the Suzuki Samurais were an inexpensive alternative to Jeep CJ7s and Wranglers. When they came out, that's what they were for. CJ7 and a Wrangler, those were 10 grand, and you could get, or 12 grand, brand spanking new, and you could get a brand spanking new Suzuki Samurai for $59.99, and that was
Is that how
play.
cheap they were?
That's how cheap they were.
They were
brand
so cheap.
New. Yeah.
Warren, in high school, these cars were ridiculous. I mean, it was like you could get that for the same price of a semester of private school,
But also, I mean, that's kind of what they should have been priced at. If you've
Right.
looked at
There's nothing to them. Absolutely.
Right.
And that's my point is that, okay, you're going to spend 15 grand on this thing now. Well, you could go get yourself a really, really nice Jeep TJ, like a Wrangler TJ, like a 2003 to 2006.
Subaru Brat.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if you're looking at this is an alternative to a Wrangler. That is its function, right? So now they're saying that people are trying to claim that they're worth the same as a Wrangler. That's just absurd. That's just nuts. I mean, because the Wrangler is the better vehicle.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And of course, there's all kinds of other alternatives. Like I don't know, if you're someone like my partner Michael Deeb, you say just get a G-Wagon.
G-Wagon?
Yeah, just get a 4x4 squared. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
That was the take. That instead of choosing between the two low-cost alternatives, I always take the luxury version of the car.
For sure.
That's why I was getting picked on the podcast.
That is 50,000 times the expense. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Michael Deeb's move. All right, well, there you go, guys. That was yesterday's cars. We make predictions of what we think the cars will sell for, and so that's just us proving that we're always wrong. And so here it is. It's time for today's cars, and it's Friday. It's a Friday edition. There's kind of a new ripple in the way these auctions are working these days. BAT, as usual, is changing up the game. Bring a Trailer has added auctions over the weekend, so there are auctions closing on Saturday and Sunday, and we don't do a Bid Nerd show on Saturday and Sunday, so we have added a couple of cars to our list that will not be closing today, unlike a usual show. They'll actually be closing over the weekend. So Michael Deeb, let's get to today's and this weekend's most interesting cars.
Well, let's start on Bring a Trailer. There is a car that is right in Warren's backyard. In fact, this car might be parked right across the street from him, and he might not even know. Although I would be surprised if Warren didn't know this car, because I think the DW guys have the entire peninsula and coastal range on lockdown. Yes. Warren, have you seen this 1978 Porsche 911 SC Coupe offered out of Monterey, California, which in all fairness, everybody, is like 35, 40 minutes from where Warren lives. It's way down the highway. But this car has 150,000 miles, and that's it. No modifications, no nonsense, no stories, no bad Carfax, no nothing. This is just a straight up, nicely preserved 911 SC Coupe, which have been moving in the right direction as of late. And this car is, at least part of its life has been spent in California and looks to be in really nice condition. Those seats, I would trade out for those seats in a heartbeat from my 84 Carrera. The Fuchs look to be in good condition. The paint's either held up well or it's been repainted at one point. Our car does have air conditioning, and there's still some factory Cosmoline on the motor and the gearbox underneath the vehicle. So, Warren, have you seen this car driving around in Santa Cruz looking for ice cream one of the days in the summer? Are you familiar with it, just out of curiosity? And what do you think of these things that JP, Lane, and Bradley and I all fawn over? Something like an SC with a 3-liter. Doesn't even have 200 horsepower. We lose our mind like it's the performance gold standard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you talk to any muscle car guy and they're just laughing. What is this? I love these cars for a lot of reasons. I have not, like I said, I'm not part of the Porsche cult, so this doesn't move me in the way a lot of other contemporaries would. Mm-hmm. However, I recognize that you hit one thing that made me perk up, and that's Cosmoline. I'm like a sucker for that. And I know how these doors shut and how everything is just so well built. I really do like that. I don't know this car particularly. Who's selling it? Does it say this? Who's the seller?
It's More Imports, MOHR Imports. Do you know those guys?
I know those guys, and I know who probably took these pictures and who's probably working this auction for them, which is our buddy Steven. And I could find out a lot more about the car if you want to know.
No.
But I don't know this market because it's still moving so quickly. You guys will definitely be more accurate with pricing, so I'll let you guys bid first, so to speak. But here we are again, a silver black car. This is like the anti-color of the Carrera, right?
A little bit. It's funny because you see something that's boring and mundane and like ordinary, and my partner over there is screaming, going, "What time does this auction?"
Oh,
and I
like
see if I can steal it.
I like the silver. Yeah. No, for me, it's like that's a perfect color for me. But I just know how the market's so weird with like, the PTS stuff and the 1 of 5 whatever color. And here you have like a relatively benign example of that, but it looks great.
Sure, PTS would bring a premium, but a car like this with no modifications gets the Porsche enthusiasts. This really gets their juices flowing, and I bet JP's over there drooling. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, I love the car, but it's got big paint issues. It's obviously been repainted and poorly. It might be hard to see since you guys are watching on your small monitors. If you're watching on a big monitor, one thing we always do on the show, guys, we always put the links to the cars that we talk about in the about section below. So you can always kind of go and look at the photos yourselves. And when they get to the photos that are close up of the paint, there's a bunch of spots that it looks like they didn't even sand the thing down when they repainted it. There were some really bad spots that were peeling up, and they just painted over it. And who knows how long ago that happened. Now that doesn't say that this isn't a car that I wouldn't still love to own. I mean, 150,000 miles. Does it say if it's had the top end rebuild or rebuilt?
I didn't get it.
Because
you keep talking, I'll figure it out.
Not only that, there's something to be said about kind of poor paint is that you can drive the hell out of it and not worry about it. You can get that rally patina and not
This is. I had a car that was very similar to this not too long ago. Our friend Ryan bought it from me about a year and a half ago, and I love a 911 that you can take to a parking lot and leave it there and be able to get into it and drive it all over the place. Does this thing have the chain tensioner? Does it have the top end rebuild? Has it had a clutch? All that kind of stuff. If the maintenance is up to date, then this is the perfect. Just drive the hell out of it. It's a 250,000 mile car. It does have more corrosion underneath than I would typically like to see, but it does seem fairly dry. Well, it looks like one of the return tubes is leaking there, which is also really common. But the push tubes or whatever under there look pretty dry. Trying to get a picture above the engine. Any word on that top end there, Michael?
Nope.
No,
they do not. This is a very Spartan ad. There is not a lot written about this.
Yeah, so that makes me really... look, I still wouldn't be scared of this car if the price is right, but being that this is a really good looker and it's on BAT, it's probably going to bring more money than I think that this car deserves. 6 months ago, this was a $28,000 car. And Michael Deeb, where do you think it's going to land now?
Yeah, I kind of like this car still, just because it it's all there and it's stock. It's not all beat up. We've seen so many of these where there's been, a lot of modifications. I thought 44 last night, but you're kind of talking me off the ledge. So I still think there might be 10 grand in it. So I'm going to go $42,000 and offer it to Warren. And Warren, take a guess. Just take an over and under.
Yeah. My mind went to 36.5.
There, you're right there, buddy.
That's where, without knowing too much, but it's so tough with those too. It's all condition based, and without seeing that paint up close and knowing why they repainted it and yada yada yada, it's like, this is what we do at Bid Nerds, right?
That is correct. We've got a little video here. They did a cold start video. Now, I did not watch this. And on a car like this, if you're going to do a cold start video, what I want to see is I want to see the tailpipe. I don't want to see inside. I get it. Yeah, okay, it starts up and it sounds okay. So now he's going to the back. How much smoke is it blowing? Is it, because you can tell right away if you're going to need a top end rebuild on these a lot of times. You start them up, and within a minute of it starting, it just starts blowing smoke. And then as the metal expands and everything tightens up again, and that smoke goes away. This one seems like it's all right. A red fan shroud. Hopefully it doesn't have red valve covers. I think we saw from underneath. It doesn't. Well, I say that not as an aesthetic problem, but there
from
was
that shop.
Yeah, the Motormeisters. If you're ever looking at an air cooled Porsche, particularly from California, and you see a red fan and a red fan shroud and red valve covers, run away. It's probably an engine that was rebuilt by Motormeisters, who are notorious for just like ripping people off.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and not doing the work.
Just straight up not doing the work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
30 grand for a rebuild and not rebuild your motor. They were corrupt.
One of those.
All right, JP, what's your guess on this car?
Yeah, did Warren give a guess?
Yeah, 36.5.
36.5. Warren, I think your price is right on. I think that's what it's worth. If this were on Craigslist or OfferUp or somewhere, or Renlist or something like that, you would put it up on there for 39 grand, and it would sell between 35 and 39 very quickly because it is still a coupe SC, even with poor paint, even with the high miles, and we don't know what the history on the engine is. But this is BAT, and BAT people are bonkers for coupe 911s SCs.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Michael Deeb's original bid and say 44.
All right.
And
Look at that.
this will be a very good test to see just how bonkers the market is, because Warren's number is correct. Michael's number is, that's what it's worth. And Michael's number is giving a certain amount of, okay, well, we'll give it a little craziness to it. I think things are even more crazy than that. So,
but that's smart too, because your audience, which is BAT, right? So you're giving that buffer to that platform. Which
if you have this car and you want to sell it, this is where to sell it. It's not an air-cooled car is definitely does not belong on P-Car Market unless you are actually in New Jersey and you can leave the car at their used car lot so people can come and see it. That's about it.
Right.
All right. So let's really cool car though. I think someone's gonna, even if you do overpay for this thing, it's still a 911 SC coupe. You're gonna just have a great time forever. All right. What else we got today, Michael Deeb? That was a really cool car.
All right, it's Friday, JP. Let's go big. Let's jump over to Hemmings, where they have found a 1997 Ferrari 550 Maranello with a 6-speed manual. Our car is offered out of Rancho Mirage, California, and has just 27,000 miles on the odometer. The paint and the leather on this car have held up really well. This has definitely had a Ferrari life, where it was probably driven for an hour and then wiped down with a diaper for 3 more before it was put away and left for another 2 months before it was driven again. This car looks like it was really well cared for. That being said, the consignors only had the car for a few years, and he never did the belts. And the belts on these cars, the timing belt on this motor needs to be done every 3 to 5 years, depending on how often you drive it, and at least every 3,500 to 5,000 miles, again, depending on how often you drive it. By all accounts, the belts on this car have not been done for 3,500 miles or since 2013. So this car is in dire need of a major service, including the timing belt, and that will set you back a pretty penny. Now, a screaming deal on that service is going to be in the $7,000 to $8,000 range, but most reputable shops probably charge over $10,000. You're looking at $12,000 to $13,000 in service for this V12 Ferrari. Once that is done, though, you are in, and you're in like Flynn, because these cars are going up in value. With 27,000 miles, red, tan, and the belt service done, this could be somewhere between $130,000 to $150,000 car. And like I said, moving in the right direction. In other words, you could drive this car for 3 or 4 years and potentially, realistically, sell this car for considerably more money than you paid for it. So this is definitely, I would say, an investment grade example, despite the belts not being done. Just keep that in mind, that that as soon as you get it, you're not going to go out and drive it. You're going to take it straight to your mechanic, and you'll take delivery of the car from his shop after the belt service is done. Other than that, I think this is a great car, and it's in California, and it's even got a cool little vanity plate. It says Italian V12. So, Warren, are you a big fan of the panini makers like I am? I love Italian cars.
Huge fan, and these cars are near and dear to my heart. I spent a couple days in a Euro TDF 550, drove to Carmel and back. Very special car. It is a GT, and they're a little bit cumbersome to drive. But man, look at that thing. It's perfect. It checks a lot of boxes for me. The color isn't my favorite. I don't really love red tan, but most people do. So
yeah, it's resellable.
Resellable for sure. And it's got the Daytona seats, and it's just a very nice car. But yeah, like you said, you hit it right on the head. It's like 10, 12 grand right off the bat just to keep it going. And you might be clutch time. Who knows? So yeah, I'm curious. Remind me of the mileage.
27,000 miles. And in the comments, some of the people are asking him about the clutch. And he said, because several of the services, the annual services, the mechanics and the technicians had recommended a clutch. And this guy claims that the car drives great, shifts perfect, so I don't need a clutch. So it may need a clutch while you're in there.
The classic move. Yeah, so it needs clutch.
Yeah.
And it's almost 10 years on belts. And what else is looming, right? So, I mean.
Yeah, right. Well, it seems like it's all been deferred, and the next owner gets to take it on. And then the thing that we're also up against is you're looking at an Italian exotic car on Hemmings News, where where you're selling a ton of domestics. This would be a great place to get a premium price for a Plymouth Prowler, or a Galaxy, a Ford Galaxy, GT500 with a 427. But is that the best place to sell your 550 Maranello that needs service?
This is a did not sell at $69,000.
Well, it's already at $87,550. Yeah. No, it's not a bad guess, but it's at $87,550.
I was just going Hemmings market.
Absolutely. No, you're right in the wheelhouse. It's at $87,000. It was at $76 last night. It's on 10 bids. It's got 3.5 hours to go, offered out of Rancho Mirage, California.
Okay.
JP, what do you think? You and I both lament that it'd be fun to own a V12 with a manual for at least a little while, right?
Oh man, this car is just heaven. Let me ask you guys as Italian experts, this timing belt thing that needs to be done, we know is expensive. If that fails, is that a zero clearance engine? Are we talking detonation?
Yep. Catastrophic.
Catastrophic. And do they fail? Is that something that you see regularly, or do they just? Is that just?
That's a good question. The early ones, I think the belt technology has changed so much, but the early cars, like your Testarossas and stuff, that was a really scary thing. But these, I don't know. Just 10 years on those belts, I'd be a little sketched just age-wise. But
especially in the desert climate of Rancho Mirage.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about how it's driven too. I mean, if you're wailing on that thing, there's obviously a bigger chance, but who knows? You could start it one day and the belt snaps and that's it, right?
Well, but isn't that? I mean, look, I've owned 16 valve Scirocco's back when I was a kid, and with 200,000 miles on it, and just ripped the living daylights out of those cars. Abuse. That's all the car I ever saw, right? With the original timing belt, and they never broke. I mean, yes, they break occasionally, but is this one of those things, kind of like maybe the IMS or cylinder scoring, bore scoring on 997s or something like that with Porsches? This is something that people are like, well, it never ever happens, but you want to make sure that it never happens because it is a complete disaster if it does.
Right. That's kind of where it's at, JP. Like I said, it could be that the belt wears out and it's not working properly, but I haven't heard of a belt snapping on these and a guy losing his motor hardly at all. But you just, nobody wants to take that chance. So I think with most people that are investing this kind of money, you just opt for the preventive maintenance. And so it seems irresponsible that this guy owned this car and never took it in to get the belts done when they has a receipt that says they hadn't been done since 2013. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's getting on 10 years, and I'd be definitely getting that done. But that car is definitely going to sell at whatever the bid is now. If I had
Deeb,
to guess,
what's it going? Deeb, what's your bid, Deeb? We'll give Warren a second guess.
Yeah, so this car should be worth $130,000, but it needs $12,000 worth of service. So I'm going to say $115,000.
All right, Warren, what do you think?
I'm just below that. I'm going to say 112.
Good. Where you at, JP?
I think this is a $150,000 car if it were up to date on its stuff, because it's a manual. Right. We're seeing the what is it? The F1 transmission ones break 100, which is ridiculous. So I'm gonna go. Deeb, you said what? 115?
Yep, I was at 125 last night, but it needs a lot of service.
I'm taking your 125 then.
All right.
And also, 27,000 miles is like 100,000 miles in Porsche talk.
Yeah.
For the Ferrari guys, that's a driven car. So, but it looks in very good condition. So, I mean,
Warren, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a conversation that Deeb and I have a lot. Is that it's the old school, the old guard Ferrari people versus the new. I just don't think the new. There's a bunch of people that are in this market now that always wanted one of these that never had one before, and they're not Ferrari people. They're just like, I want a Ferrari. They are not the pleated pants. They're not not those guys, and they just don't care about all that crap. You know, they don't care if there's an accident on the record. They don't care if it's got a few more miles on it relative to the other ones. They just want. I mean, I want a Ferrari. Like personally, I want this car. If I had the money, dude, I think this is a great kind of like the 996 offers a better value because it's, you know, not a 997. I think this car is kind of the same thing. It's got a few extra miles by Ferrari standards, but everyone else is like, well, whatever Ferrari standards, go great. You guys go sit in the corner and worry about timing belts in a couple of miles. We're gonna go drive the stupid car. That's what that's my fantasy. It is on Hemmings, and so my number is a little high, and you know, I'm probably putting way too much faith in a very, very, very poor auction site.
I hope you're right, because it'll justify how rad of a car it is. So
yeah, this should have been on Rad For Sale. This car should have totally been on Rad For Sale.
What year is it?
It's a
97.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is right. This is you guys, man. Come on, that would be awesome. All right, what else we got?
All right, JP, let's jump over to Bring It Trailer, where we have found a 2009 Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren Convertible with just 3,000 miles, again offered out of Van Nuys, California. This has the 5.4-liter supercharged V8. AMG basically worked on this car, as well as the engineers from McLaren. This was a collaboration between the two companies because McLaren and Mercedes were in partnership on a Formula One team back in that period and were very successful. They're winning the championship a couple of different times with Mika Hakkinen, and coming very close a couple times with Kimi Räikkönen. So this car was sort of born out of that relationship and partnership to create an exotic car that went on to compete with the Enzo Ferrari and the Porsche Carrera GT. Now, a lot of us knocked this car when it first came out because a lot of the switchgear and things that were in the cabin were just carryovers from Mercedes-Benz luxury cars. And one would think that an exotic car with a $500,000 sticker price would have had more bespoke pieces put onto it. As those cars that it competed with, like the Carrera GT and the Enzo Ferrari, rose in value, these cars immediately after production seemed to go down in value. And it's very common that you could have seen one when they were 2, 4, 6, 7 years old. You could have picked up a coupe for under $200,000 and a convertible like this one for just a little bit over $200,000. But in the last few years, these cars have really started to gain steam, and they've gone back up in value. I'm not saying that I think this car will bring $500,000 or close to its original MSRP, which in this case was $517,000. But they are definitely moving in the right direction. And it wouldn't surprise me if this car was well into the 300s and came close to $400,000. I will also go on to say that a majority of these cars were painted in silver. And so when you see one in this beautiful metallic black and this, what they call silver arrow, almost white leather seats, pay a premium for this unusual and very striking colorway. During the fact that it's convertible, which there were less built, they only built 2,100 total cars over like a 5-year period. They built less convertibles. 2009 is the last year of production, and the fact that the car has only 3,000 miles. And I think this is a strong example of an SLR. This is a collector-grade example, and it ticked a lot of the correct boxes. So I hand it over to you, Warren. What do you think about the SLR McLaren Convertible? Yay or nay? Because we kind of shit on this car when it first came out.
I'm a big yay. I really like these cars. Lane and a lot of people do not. They have a phallic kind of weird look to them.
Totally. It's groovy, baby.
It's polarizing, but I dig them. I'm just a sucker for Mercedes-Benz AMG anyways. And this era, that was a really, really special car. And I've had a chance to be around these quite a bit. So I appreciate them a lot. And like you said, the convertible, it's like, you know, I don't know, probably adds 25% to the value.
Yeah.
And the color combo is rad. I'm not a huge black paint fan, but keeping them clean. But I mean, on a car like this, who cares? It's a killer combo. I mean, look at that thing. It's a Batmobile. It's crazy.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I like it. I'm in.
Yeah. JP, before I hand it over to you, are you tapping near a microphone? It sounds we're getting a little
I'm
feedback
hearing some scratching on a microphone cable or something like that. It's definitely not coming from me.
Okay. I just thought we'd isolate that. But JP, this car, I mean, man, a lottery winner. This, I could see you totally rocking this cab. What do you think, buddy? A couple of Durr stickers on the quarter panels.
I mean, it's a lot of money for an SL55. I mean, this is such a
wow.
badass car.
There it is.
I gotta agree with the original, assessment that it's too much like the Mercedes. And look, I like SL55.
Heartspin.
I think they're great, but I mean, come on, guys! I'm gonna get $500,000 for a car that really is or an SL63, I guess. This is a 2009. This car is so amazing. When you see them on the road, they look so much better than they do in pictures.
Yeah.
They just don't really do justice when you see them in video and stuff like that. And you got to love not the gull wing doors, but kind of the hybrid scissor door. Well, it's not even that, right? Because it's not like a Lambo scissor door, and it's not
what
a
do they
gull
call
wing
those?
because it
like
flares forward. It's like something
in
in between the two of those things. So, but anyways, I find it amazing, honestly. As much as an SL car as it is, it has a soft top. I mean, the SL500 has a hard top. And even the Ferrari, California uses the exact same SL500 hardtop unit. So, and they've shared it with other cars too. So it does seem odd that they didn't use that same unit for this car. I guess it's just because the cab is so much further back.
Well,
because you have that big penis nose.
The romance.
Yeah,
the big
penis. Yeah, it's the packaging, right? But and also maybe a little lightweight nod to keeping it more performance oriented, even though the thing probably weighs 5,000 pounds.
Gajillion pounds.
Well, and that's a great
that's
a great take. So despite having 617 horsepower and 575 pound-foot of torque, all of that power is run through a 5-speed automatic slush box. When the Carrera GT was a stick and the Enzo Ferrari was a floppy paddle single clutch, sort of an SMG kind of thing. This was obviously the least exotic of the crew. And when you talk about how much this car weighed, not only on its own, but certainly against its competitors, what you have here is a really beautiful Dodge Viper. You've got this big, heavy car that makes so much power, but you don't realize the power because the car weighs so much. I'm not saying that this car isn't fast or that it wouldn't scare you, but it's probably not as intimidating as that recipe should be. And in the end, when you drive this car, there's probably a lot of scuttle shake and all this other stuff. I imagine it's very Viper-esque at the end of the day, just a lot prettier in the packaging. So, JP,
where's it going to land?
It's sitting at $276,000 with less than an hour to go out of Vanoise, California. The Crystal Galaxite Black SLR McLaren is going to sell for, I think, a whopping $375,000.
Whoa! Wow. Okay.
I think that there's going to be a late flurry for this car because people want them again.
Man, I would have kind of been on that tip too, but it's stalled out at $275 right now.
Yeah, but there's going to be a late flurry. It's on BAT.
I know. It'll definitely be a late flurry. I'm going to go a little less than that. I'm going to say do it. I'm going to say 350, just right in the middle.
There you go.
350.
Yeah, Warren's
put me down. Lock it in.
Warren's taking my number. Look at this picture I've got in the lower corner, guys. It would be very, very easy in a parking lot to look at this picture and go, "Is that an SLK?"
No,
I mean that is
no. In person, they're so much more imposing. There's
that hood
wider.
Is 8 feet long.
Yeah,
that hood
exactly.
is 8 feet long.
Yeah, in person they look so different. They look lower, more menacing. They're just a more imposing car than they look in photos.
I agree, but boy, the fact that even a photo could make it go. I mean, you would. It's potentially with this angle, you would skip right over this, just thinking it's an SLK. You just be like, wait, no, that's an SLR. Okay, it's the big. It's a big deal. All right, I'm gonna split. I'm gonna go 365.
Okay, that's kind of where I wanted to go first, but.
JP, I bring you a black convertible from Stuttgart, and you crap all over it.
Exactly.
I love it. I don't have the faith in the audience. I think there are too many cabrio phobes in the world.
God!
It's just.
I would rock that car in a heartbeat.
That's a daily driver. You could daily drive that thing
too. Totally.
You can't daily drive a Carrera or an Enzo, but you could drive.
You go get a single bag. You get a single bag of groceries, and they have to sit on the seat next to you because there's no room in the trunk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Let's look at another black Mercedes, JP. We found a 2003 Mercedes-Benz G500 with 185,000 miles out of Austin, Texas. Has a 5-liter V8, a 5-speed automatic. There's a couple of accessories on here, like an alucab rooftop tent. They bolted on a ladder, and it even has a shadow awning. But take a closer look at this auction, JP. I know you don't like to talk about the title, but this Carfax is lit up like a Christmas tree. It has a branded title because of a buyback and lemon. It has damage reported, and it also has potential odometer rollback indicated and 6 previous owners.
Oh my God.
So how on earth, JP, is this car already at $22,500? What are you buying? It's a box of bolts, and this car has 2 days left on the auction. It doesn't close until Sunday. Out of Austin, Texas, with the most colorful Carfax I've ever seen, G500. I'd rather have that Suzuki Samurai.
Well, you know, this is the same tent on there,
right? Yeah, and it probably look. The reason why I brought this up, why I put this car on the list, is exactly the Carfax. You and I have this conversation all the time. There's a minor accident on the Carfax, and the first thing you're like, "Oh, it's got a bad Carfax," and it just drives me nuts. It's like, no, this has a bad Carfax. This is exactly what a bad Carfax is, right? Theft recovery or something. This has a branded title. It doesn't just have an accident.
According to the Carfax, there's a dead body in the trunk.
6 owners alone. 6 owners. Right. I'm already like, no, but I don't think so.
Well, and then this one goes against your argument, though, JP, because I think it's a strong value considering how bad the Carfax suggests this car is, you know?
Well, and that's because it's a G-Wagon. I mean, G-Wagons just bring big money no matter what the heck they are. And regardless of all this, I mean, like, was it Tyler Hoovie's got one on Hoovie's Garage that he's done a bunch of stuff. This was a G55, so it's got the supercharged engine, and it's got 200,000 miles on it. And, but, I mean, that's the thing. You go to his site and you watch his videos and you go, man, it's still stupid reliable. They did some maintenance to it, but it's fine. This is the kind of car where, this guy has it totally kitted out for overlanding. And if it didn't have a terrible title, a 2003 G-Wagon with, mid to high miles is going to be a $30-something thousand rig.
That was my question. Thank you, JP. I was curious what this thing should be worth.
Here's one that has all the cool overlanding stuff. You can go beat the daylights out of this car, and it's got a branded title, so who cares? The question is, how much higher than the number it's at right now will it get to? I mean, this thing even has rust issues, for crying out loud. I mean, it's got every problem you can have for a G-Wagon, but I would still rock this thing. And kind of like that SC that we were talking about earlier, where the paint isn't very good, and it's got a bunch of miles, and maybe it's going to need a rebuild at some point. Well, yeah, but that's the 911 you want to go rip through the roads and leave in a parking lot and drive around. This is the G-Wagon that you want to go take out in the woods and get some Rocky Mountain pinstriping, as they call it, as the tree branches drag down the side of the paint and stuff like that. Yeah. Who cares? Park it, open your tent, crack a beer, smoke a joint, do whatever you do. Warren,
I'm with you. I think, man, the ownership history is tattered.
Crazy.
But it's like you said, it's the perfect one to go rally off road. It's already got $10,000 in upgrades for the overlanding kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's a $4,000 tent right there.
Overrated car. Exactly.
I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. They're fairly overrated cars based on how they drive, but they are so well built. I mean, it's a very capable off-road car. So
yeah.
But I think you're right. As far as value goes, I don't see it getting anywhere near what a non-branded title, just stock, soccer mom G-Wagon would get. So the additions to the overlanding stuff may not really help value much. But I'm saying like low 30s.
Well,
best.
Hold on. So we'll give Deeb first crack at it. I mean, and just to be clear, too, guys, this thing doesn't. This auction doesn't end till Sunday, right? This is
right.
This is
right.
The
So it's got 2 days. It's got 2 days.
Is it no reserve?
It is no reserve.
Okay.
Yeah, no reserve and 2 days to go. Warren, not to go completely at odds against you, but I would almost argue that maybe the high value here is because of the things that are on the car. In most cases, you would think that, all the accoutrements don't really help a nice car. But when a car is this banged up, is somebody buying those pieces at a discount and they get a G-Wagon with a branded title, throw it in? Because, again, I'm shocked that the car is at where it's at. Last night, it was on 12 bids at 20 grand. And overnight, and this is not the close day, it's up to 22.5. I had put $23,000 as my bid, and I have to move the needle. So I want to say 25, but I wouldn't be surprised if this car brought 27. If it gets to $30,000, I think we should just stop doing the show because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I think bid nerds should just quit and go home. Like, that's ridiculous.
I know.
30 grand for that lit up title. I don't know. If you're a mechanic, I suppose, but that's just crazy.
No, I'm definitely leaning your way. I just think that the SUV overlanding world is so hot right now, and I mean, if you look at trying to buy a Sportsmobile or any SUV, really, Toyota truck, it's crazy.
We've covered a bunch of Volkswagen, every version you could possibly imagine. JP and I are both kind of into them. Obviously, Bradley's had one or has one, has a Synchro, I think. So they've been bringing
Brad,
big.
No, I have a Vanagon. Bradley doesn't, but
you do, yeah. Oh, sorry. Anyways.
It's all good.
Yeah, they've been, the values of those have gone crazy too, which is to that argument. Anyway, I'm going to say $25,000 and send it to you guys, but I already don't feel good about my bid, and I think it's too low.
I know. I'm going 31, and it's not even close to worth that. But try finding a G-Wagon for under 30. It's super hard.
Yeah. I mean, you're seeing 200,000 mile G-Wagons definitely bring 30 grand. This one has rust in the body and everything too.
So
it's like
gross.
This thing is almost irredeemable. At 22.5, I think it's a buy. This would be awesome.
I know.
Deeb, what'd you say? 25?
I said 25, and Ward said 31.
I'll go 27. I think it goes.
I hope you guys are
25. Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't see this. It has to stall out before 30. I mean, with that title, there's no way.
I hope so.
But then again, maybe there is. Geez Louise. All right. Well, that's an interesting discussion when it comes to titles and branding and how those things affect. We're playing a video here, and the owner, you could tell he's talking about the car. I like this guy. He's very clearly pointing out everything wrong with this thing. He's pointing at the rust. He's pointing out the dents. He's pointing out everything. And I think there's something to that. And I think that's going to bring this guy more money because he's not trying to hide anything. He's like, hey, look, this is what it is.
That's the perfect sixth owner you're looking for, right?
Right.
Warren, that's a great take.
Yeah, that's the guy you want.
I love it.
Oh, man, yeah. Bid nerds rule number 468. You really want a good sixth owner. Somebody
you do. You really. That's what
charisma and integrity. That's important in buying a car.
Exactly.
Is it because he's being honest about the car, or is it because of his hair bun? All right, moving on to the next car here. What else we got this weekend?
All right, Warren, let's push you to the limit now. Do you love American cars? Because JP picked out a 1991 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1 with just 19,000 miles out of Signal Mountain, Tennessee. This car also closes in 2 days on Sunday on Bring a Trailer. Let's see, it was listed also in 2018. Anyway, none of that stuff's important. What you're really buying here is the LT5 V8, 5.7 liter V8 with about 375 horsepower and almost 400 pound-foot of torque. It has a 6-speed manual transmission. I have to say, this car in white with the bright red leather really offends me. I love that colorway on an NSX or an Integra Type R. I hate it on a Corvette. It just looks really, really cheap to me. I don't know why. I mean, I don't really like these cars in general.
I was going to say, probably because it's a Corvette. Is that why it looks cheap?
Maybe. Thank you. That's probably it. I don't know. Where were you when I needed you? Anyway, the motor is everything. It's a 4-cam, 32-liter V8, and it's just bonkers. This was a lot of horsepower back in the day. Anyway, no accidents on the Carfax. Clean car, low miles. JP and I had an argument on the show and off the show that ZR1s were only $20,000 cars. And I thought that they were still bringing more than that. In my mind, they were, $40,000 and $50,000 Corvettes. He's like, Deeb, you can get one for 20 grand. So here's a great example. The car has 2 days to go. It's over 23,000 at the moment. It is a low mile clean example. But that being said, it is in that $20,000 range, and JP tends to be right on these things. So let's see what happens here. Is this car going to creep up and be a $30,000 ZR1 or not? What do you think, Warren? Any love for these things?
Yeah, this is the perfect Radwood on paper.
Yes.
I love these cars.
Yeah,
I see pictures, and I see him rolling into one of our Radwood shows, and I'm like, that thing's rad, and I love everything about it. It's got so much style, and just that GM 80s and 90s vibe to it. But I've driven this exact car. Basically, our co-founder Rick Deacon had a red on red example, and it left me stranded after a 20-minute drive with a bad relay, I believe, if I remember correctly, or a fuse or something. Anyways, that's maybe not the C4 Corvette, not the fault of its whole generation of car, but they're not super great cars to drive. I mean, it's like if you live in Texas and you're bombing the highways, for sure. The stuff I want to do is tight, twisty mountain roads, and this is not the car for it. So I don't really lust after these. Having said that, I know it's a special car. It's still, I think it's aging well. What do you guys think? I think it's like over time, like every time I see one, a nice one, I go, that's a pretty rad car.
This is where, okay, I love that Radwood exists because, I came up, Deeb and I came up in that era, and you're obviously from a younger generation. All you guys that created Radwood were barely around. You guys were in diapers.
They were more 90s than 80s.
Yeah, Deeb and I can remember when this car was the gosh darn car. Back then, there was no Jalopnik or DWA or YouTube where you could watch endless Doug DeMuro videos about every car there ever was. Back then, you had 3 magazines at the Safeway magazine rack, and all 3 of them
Road
had
and
this
Track,
car.
Car Driver, Motor Trend. Yep.
All 3 of them had this car on the cover, and for months, for years, nobody would shut the hell up about the ZR1. Oh, it's got square head, your rear taillights, all those things. So this was the car of cars. If you won the lottery and lived in a double wide, this is the car you immediately went out and bought.
Ran out and bought.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, and because you could go and get this car, it was like the exotic car for every man. And boy, are you right, Warren? They are not good. They're a ton of fun. You can do donuts for days. They are a great boulevard cruiser, which was also significant back in the 80s. Back in the 80s was kind of the last era of teenagers cruising. That was a thing. You
the drive-in, exactly. Going to get your milkshake and cruise around
American Graffiti, man.
Your special lady friend, and hold hands, and
if you rolled into the cruise in a C4 vet of any you were just like the guys, like, oh my god, Butch has a vet, holy cow, Buck has a vet. There's always guys that had names that started with B.
Exactly.
Warren, tell Lane I'd rather have a 1991 Porsche 911 C4. I'd rather have that. Yeah.
Wide body, the
automatic,
wide body in '94. Yeah.
Thanks for your contribution, Deeb. So sure. And here's the other thing too. I just wanted to add to it is that neither are, even though there's a big delta between your generation, Warren, and ours, the delta that's even greater between yours and say the kids, the Z generation that are just now getting their driver's license. These cars are hipster cars now. One of my best friends, his 17-year-old son, has been looking for a C4 vet and just bought one, and he is over the dang moon about it. And I gotta be like, okay, great, that's cool, man. They can't afford 911 C4 wide bodies like Mike.
Totally. And there's a lot of support for these, and their ownership probably isn't the worst experience. I'm gonna run and duck for cover after I say this, but I like this color combo, white over red. You're really leaning into it. It's like if you're going Corvette, you might as well go full Corvette. And I'm gonna get a visor and a Titleist polo, and
oh my god,
I'm going all in. But
look, Warren and I are correct. This is a great color combo because it has a black dash. It's awesome. It is fantastic. It is the best looking vet there is. But that's okay. Deep wants a wide body 911.
As far as value goes, I'm gonna say, gosh, how many miles again?
Well, let's get Warren. We'll give you a second crack at it so we can.
Okay, good.
Deeb kind of start the numbers.
19,000 miles. I
That's
have
low.
some more notes I just want to read to you guys. When Chevrolet wanted to make this motor, when they wanted to squeeze that much power out of their V8, they actually partnered up with Lotus to create the motor. And then the motors were built for them by Mercury Marine out of Oklahoma, just so they could get 375 horsepower out of a pushrod V8 back in the early 90s. Offered out of Signal Mountain, Tennessee with 19,000 miles, Warren.
That's
Our
low.
car has 2 days to go and is sitting at $23,000 on like 5 bids. Look, I would not be surprised if this car went well into the 30s, but I think that you can still find these things for reasonable money. So for that, I'm going to say $29,000 and send it to you, Warren. Where do you want to be?
I'm going high. I think 19,000 miles is low for these. This is a pretty Radwood color combo. And yeah, I think there's, like you said, there's a new demographic of people who think these cars are cool and they haven't even driven one. Once they drive one, they might change. I'm going to say $36,000.
Yeah, you're not far off.
Well,
I think
what do you
37
say?
would be all the money.
You say there's a new audience for these cars, but they haven't driven one yet. What have they been driving? They've been driving, they've been
Grand
riding.
Theft Auto.
Well,
Yeah,
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, so one, they haven't been driving at all, or they've been learning to drive their parents' Prius. So
but
this
they have
is way more
Instagram.
fun than anything that.
Oh no, for sure.
Yeah.
This is a huge leap for them. But I mean, they've been looking at Instagram and seeing these cars in YouTube videos, and they haven't, maybe aren't as well versed, and they've always wanted one, that kind of story. And then when you get one, and you're like, holy
Yeah, it feels more powerful than I thought, and it's built like worse than I could have imagined.
I thought. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think that
At 100
new
miles
audience,
an hour, that car shakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that new audience has any reference points to say, oh, this is good or bad. They just don't. This is what a performance car must be like. But I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's don't meet your heroes. Did I get it?
Right. It's still.
So what's the number?
JP, your point is absolutely valid, but these cars are so visceral. You don't need a reference point because they've never experienced torque like that, and they've never experienced a car shaking where the doors felt like they were going undone at 110 miles an hour on the freeway at 11 o'clock at night when they're going to see their girlfriend or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. There are a lot of these in garages right now waiting for their owners to die at any moment.
Absolutely.
So there's no shortage of these that will be sold by their kids soon.
It's a tidal wave of American cars coming in the next 10 to 20 years. That's for sure. Tidal wave.
Will this car break 30? I don't think so. What was your number, Warren? Yours was
I'm at 36, and I want to even go higher. I might go
where were you,
38.
Deeb? I'm sorry.
29. I don't think it's going to break 30.
Yeah.
If it had 1,900 miles, it's a $40,000 car.
I'm going to break 30. I'll take the 30. I'll take the over because this is a pretty darn nice one.
All right.
What a way to end the week
show.
with a ZR1 Corvette.
Warren, you survived, dude. I don't know how you made it through the damn show. Holy mackerel.
Is the takeaway from this show that we are just like what is it? What were the 3 magazines that you told me? Car and Driver, Motor Trend, and what was the other one of the 80s? Road and Track.
Road and Track.
Yeah.
I think I did pretty well, although this is easy to say before any of the results come in.
Yeah.
I think I did awesome.
Oh, my God. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Warren,
you
should
do
be
drive
canonized
while.
for sainthood for getting suckered into.
Warren drives while
Coming on the show.
awesome
That's
and also bids while awesome. So there it is, Warren from
That's right.
Driving While Awesome, Rad For Sale, and Radwood. Go check out all of those things. Warren, anything else you want to plug before the end of the show?
Not too much, but if you're in the Bay Area, come to Radwood NorCal. Tickets are on July 10th. The rally is sold out, but tune into Driving While Awesome, where I have more rallies coming. And I'd say just stay tuned to Rad For Sale. And if you want to list a car for free, use coupon code TUBULAR when you do so. And you get a free listing on Rad For Sale, 80s and 90s cars. And we're ramping that up as we speak.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Tubular. That's fucking awesome, man. That's total right. Spicoli.
That's right. Thanks for having me, guys. This has been fun.
Oh, Warren,
we
great
got
to meet
through
you,
a whole week without an F-bomb until the last minute of the show. So thanks, Michael Deeb.
Did I do it?
No, Deeb he just dropped an F. He just dropped a total tubular F-bomb.
I swear, like I went to Catholic school.
Very good. Yeah, that was hard. I was actually holding back the whole time. When we hang up, I'm just gonna curse into the closet.
Yeah,
and just get them all out.
Go kick the dog.
Exactly.
Fellas, thanks for joining us.
JP.
Make sure you subscribe, like, hit the notification button. Bid Nerds, your daily nerd on the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. I almost got that out in one breath. We do it Monday through Friday at the 9 o'clock hour. So make sure you join us for Bid Nerds. This has been a great week, guys. Watch the auctions over the weekend, and we will see you Monday. Oh, Michael Deeb, did you want to say something?
Yeah, start planning for your July. Bid Nerds will be at Rad For Sale, and we're going to try and, scuttle onto the rally as well. So it's going to be a great July in California. Be here or be square.
Nerd!
Thanks, Warren.
Get the nerd!